What does that mean? Okay. All right. So when you think of Gemini, of course, you think of often they talk about two sides of the personality, right? Two sides of the personality. But you see, when you wake up in Gemini, it's not two sides of the personality anymore. That's not the duality. It shifts from two parts of the personality to the soul and the personality. There's a red, you might say it verticalizes. Before you're on the path, yeah, I got two sides of my personality, but then it shifts, and now it's the higher self and the lower self. And Gemini is also associated with communications. You and I are doing a Gemini thing right now. This camera is also Gemini. The internet's Gemini. But when you're on the path and waking up, it's all about vertical communications. It's about the communications between the soul and the personality. That's actually the higher understanding of of Gemini. Let me show you. The relating of the pairs of opposites and the building of the Antakarana. Now, some of you may know what Antakarana is, but let me explain. Antakarana is a Sanskrit word, and it's said to be the communication bridge that is between the soul and the personality. And yet this bridge does not exist naturally. It has to be built. And it's built when three things are woven into the fabric of your life. One, heartfelt service to humanity, a real Christ-like commitment to love and serve. Two, study, building your higher mind. And three, meditation. Those are called the three pillars. And why this is so important is because we are told in the ancient literature that Gemini rules the construction of the Antakarana. Doesn't mean that if you don't have Gemini in your chart, you can't build it. No. Because Gemini has a ruling planet, it has a higher and lower ruling planet, and that planet is someplace in your chart. So in a way, one thing you need to know about astrology is, in a certain sense, all the signs of the zodiac are related to you in some way, shape, or form, because all of their representatives are in the zodiac in your chart somewhere, okay? So it's a very, very important, and the key to success when you're on the path in Gemini is to learn to quiet the lower self in order to hear the faint whispers of the soul. Because you see, the soul speaks in faint intuitive whispers. It's all about getting the lower self quiet, which, by the way, is very difficult for Gemini, because it's a mutable sign and the mind wants to go all over the place, and that's the great irony. There's a great irony about Gemini. I always think about this, you know. It's like Gemini people would probably benefit most from meditation, and yet they're the least likely to meditate. But if you can really quiet it down, it's a fantastic sign. Here's the mantra for it. I see my other self, and in the waning of that self, I grow and glow. Let me embellish it for you for clarity. This is the soul speaking in Gemini. I see that busy personality down there, and in the waning of it, which is the quieting of it, I grow and I glow. You see? It's kind of beautiful in a way, isn't it? I think, anyway. The next sign, Cancer. Oh, I'm glad you're keeping me on track, lady. This is good. Okay, the ruler. The traditional ruler is Mercury, right? The esoteric ruler is Venus. Venus. Because Venus, on a higher level, it's all about learning that to think with your heart and to feel with your mind, a reverse pattern. I could really go into it. Okay, now let's just, I gotta keep my pace here, but I'll just say this really quickly. Planets are living things, friends. Planets are beings. It's not just this ball of dirt out there. It's a being, it's alive. Just like the earth is a being, it's a God to us. And just as the earth has a soul and a personality, so too does Venus. In fact, Venus is more evolved than our earth. And each of those planetary lives out there, their soul and personality are governed by rays. So when you think of Venus, what do you normally think of? What word would come to mind normally?
Love.
Love. What ray is love most associated with? Second ray. Quite right. Venus is second ray in its personality nature, but not its soul nature. The soul of Venus is actually fifth ray. Fifth ray. And that's the ray of higher mind. Higher mind. So this is a very complex thing, and I could take you down a lot of roads here, but I'm just trying to give you a sense of understanding that when we think about planets and their influence, we also have to think about their higher influence and their lower influence, okay?